So hello and welcome back to Living the Small Business Life. In this episode, Ben and I are going to have a chat together about AI. What does it mean for small businesses? How are we using it? And when are we going to steer well clear from using it? So yeah, I guess to kick off, probably a good place to start would be just to chat about, are we using AI in our businesses? If so, what does that look like at the moment?
I know Ben's not using it.
No.
Ben, you're using no AI?
No, none at all.
Okay, good. I feel like we're lining ourselves up quite easily. No AI, some AI and a bit skeptical, all the AI.
I'm using it quite a bit, and I'm still working out the tools that work best. Well, I'm using it for business use and personal use.
Yeah.
So things like drafting emails, maybe responding to queries, reviewing maybe some documentation. I'm a little bit dyslexic, so I obviously struggle to pick up on typos and spelling mistakes, so I can just be like, hey, can you analyse this for me? And actually it will go, well, it'll make a suggestion just to tweak a few sentences and things. But we're also using it in other areas of the business, being an IT solutions provider, and we're seeing a lot of value out of it, and saving a lot of time day to day as well. So I don't know how much you're using it.
Well, should we start back with Ben again? So to clarify, are you saying you and your business are using no AI, or you personally are using no AI, but the business is using some?
Some of the staff might be using it, but I've not embraced the technology just of yet.
Yeah.
I have seen some of the stuff that Ben's showed me over the last few months, and yes, I think there are some potential pieces of kit that can save you money. The email, tidy up stuff and various things. I think that can save you a considerable amount of time, which is money. But yeah, it's something I'm just not. I'm not quite comfortable with.
Is it something you're discussing within the business to use in the future, or?
I think the thing is with our industry, it's very difficult to start using AI with what we're actually doing. It's a difficult one. It's a real difficult one. It's a bit different for you, Ben, because you're in that field, that technology, IT. There's a lot of clients that you have that would potentially use it, and it is a product that you can potentially sell on, if that makes sense. And you can potentially use it for efficiencies within your business. I haven't really had the time to spend to really deep dive into it to understand what benefits it's going to give me. I've even seen now AI on WhatsApp. Now it will start composing your WhatsApps for you, and I'm just thinking, well, hang on a second. Is it really going to say what I want to say, and is it coming out the way that I would say something? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a sticky one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's probably where I've come to with it. Like, I've used ChatGPT and other AI agents and tools and had to go around. So I've spent like a week trying to feed everything I do through AI. Just as an experiment, I was giving it all the things that I needed to find out about or what I needed to do, just to see what's it going to come up with? Is this actually useful? Is it helpful? And I think actually, Ben, to your point, so one of the things for me is when it comes to writing things, especially, I write a weekly newsletter, a weekly email, and I can touch type, and it comes out of my head pretty much how I want it to be on the page. So for me, it isn't a tool that's going to save me any time there, because it's something that I do already quite efficiently. But then I suppose for other things that I might give it, working on things like podcasting and marketing, you're straying very quickly into that AI images, AI video, AI around content ideas. And where I've tried it, there's something missing. It's something for me that it doesn't put things across in a way that creatively I think is worth using AI for. So I think that's why I'm kind of in the middle, is that where I would use it, it's not actually necessarily, I think, adding anything creatively.
Right.
So if you're using it in your business,
yep.
Should we move into kind of like, how do you manage that with your team? Are your team using it as well?
So we're playing around with it at the moment. So a few of us have got access to a tool called Microsoft Copilot, which is Microsoft's AI offering. And my understanding of that is Microsoft invested some money into OpenAI, who own ChatGPT, to sort of bring that into the business world. Microsoft market it to say that it's going to free up your time, and they reckon that it could save you up to 4 hours per day in terms of doing monotonous tasks like writing emails, proposals, and things like that. Have I saved 4 hours a day? No, but I am saving quite a bit of time on emails at the moment. Things like Microsoft Copilot, what you can do, so I could maybe go on a Teams meeting with a prospect and I can transcribe the whole meeting in Microsoft Teams. Then what it can do is it can take the transcription and actually draft all the discussion points from that meeting in nice bullet point format, because, you know, conversation chops and change and you come back to subjects and things like that. So it will sort it all out for you. It will generate the follow-up tasks, who's assigned to which follow-up task, you know, whether it's the customer needing to provide us with some more information or scheduling another meeting and things like that. Then once you've had that meeting, you can go into Copilot and you can say things like, based on that meeting I had yesterday with so-and-so, can you draft me an email with the follow-up activities, but also maybe a proposal using our standard proposal template? And it will get you about 90% of the way there. So where I used to spend maybe an hour creating a proposal and obviously drafting an email, it gets me 90% of the way there. Then what I can do is I can send that off to the customer, and, you know, it just looks like I've spent a lot of time and effort on creating this really nice document for them and spent a lot of time drafting this email when I haven't. Well, I do find with it is it's not always in my tone or language that I would use, but it's supposed to learn over a period of time about your tone and language, and it is getting better. And yeah, I'm finding that is saving a lot of time, because, you know, when you're in a meeting, I'd be writing loads of notes or typing in things in OneNote. Now I don't have to worry about that, so the conversation's more free-flowing and it just does the job for me. So that's a big win for me, because I do have a lot of Teams calls with prospects. I could then, maybe we're working on a solution for a customer and I need to put a PowerPoint slide deck together, and I can say, based on the discussion points of that meeting, can you draft me a PowerPoint presentation using our standard, you know, PowerPoint template? And again, it will get me about 90% of the way there. So I'm finding time savings there. I've also been playing around with a tool that I've just seen marketed on social media called Fixer. I think it's Fyxer. And that's basically an email organization tool. And what it will do is it will look at your mailbox and it will categorize emails based on whether it's just for notification only, whether it needs you to do something, you need to respond, and it'll put really nice tags and color coordination, and it'll move things into folders for you as well. So rather than looking in your inbox at this massive, great big folder with read and unread emails all over the place, it actually moves them into folders. And then I can just spend a bit of time, you know, 10, 15 minutes a day looking in each individual folder. Okay, these are the notification emails, and it might be one of my colleagues just copying into an email, and I don't really need to do anything with it. It's just a bit of information that I need to digest. Then it will have stuff that it will say awaiting reply. And if I do forget to reply, it will then remind me that I need to reply to this email because I haven't done it for a couple of days. Then there'll be stuff like, FYI or no action required. But what's really cool as well is it will actually draft responses for you as well. So again, where maybe I'll forget to reply to something, or I haven't had the time to do it, there's a draft email sat there ready to go, and again, it gets you about 90% of the way there. It doesn't send the emails without you hitting send, so you just go into your drafts and you can go, send, okay, tweak that one, send. So I'm seeing some real benefits of using it, and a couple of guys in the team have started to now look at it as well. One of the main problems with Copilot at the moment is, as part of the Microsoft ecosystem, you have email, you have cloud storage where your data is saved to, and basically if you ask it to find some information, you need to make sure that you've got permissions set up on all these different areas, because, give you an example, somebody working on reception has got full access to everything on SharePoint, didn't realise that they had. They could go in and type in, hey Copilot, can you tell me all the staff salaries? And if they've accidentally got access to the HR folder on SharePoint that's got that information in, it will pull back that information. They'll be able to know how much everyone gets paid in the business. So you've really got to make sure that the security around all of your data is set up and people can only see what they need to see. But Microsoft, I went on a seminar, a Copilot seminar a couple of months ago, and they gave some examples about ChatGPT and Microsoft Copilot. And they gave a scenario where there was a guy that works for Samsung. We know Samsung make TVs, washing machines, mobile phones, but they actually manufacture semiconductors. And this engineer that worked for Samsung, he developed this new formula, not quite sure what you call it, but design for a new type of semiconductor. And he decided what he would do is put the code into ChatGPT to say, can it make it any better or any more efficient? Of course, what he'd then done is let that information out, and then it's available on the internet. Whereas with Microsoft Copilot, what it will do is it will keep it within your business infrastructure, so it doesn't go out to the internet. It'll pull information from the internet, but it won't push it outwards. So there's a lot of concerns around security, data security, and we're just playing about with little bits of it at the moment. But being an IT company, you know, we've got everything locked down pretty well, and we're comfortable with that. But a lot of businesses are coming to us at the moment saying, hey, can we just have a Copilot license, you know, which is like £300 a year, and think it will just revolutionise their business. Well, actually, there's a lot of consultancy work to review your data, make sure it's locked down, make sure it's controlled. Where it's stored, all of that information. So I think people are starting to adopt it more now in business, but I still think there's a lot of concerns and unanswered questions at the moment.
I mean, I think one of the things that I keep returning back to is just fundamentally how AI works. So any kind of like large language model needs a large amount of data, and if you're using ChatGPT, that large amount of data is the entire source of the internet up to a certain point. And I think we can all agree that for all the positives on the internet, there are plenty of negatives. The internet is a place that is full of bias. You know, it distills everything that isn't so great about, you know, the human experience, and then we're asking it to write something, you know, for our LinkedIn. All of that bias there is just baked into whatever you're asking it to produce. It's also, you know, large amounts of data in the same way as cloud storage, some discussion around the environmental impact. We don't really talk about that with AI, but in the similar way that, you know, costs us a certain amount of water to Google something, it's costing us even more water or whatever it is, or storage or electricity to ask a large language model to make us into an action figure. So I think there's lots of, before you even get down to specific products, so you were talking about Copilot, I've had a go with Gemini in my Google Workspace that I use. And I did actually use that this week. I've got a folder with all my newsletters that I've written for 2025. And I just went into it and I was like, based on all of these, you know, give me ideas, what should I write about next? I didn't use that idea this week, but I was looking through it thinking, yeah, okay, I had that on the list. That's actually quite a fairly good idea. And I was like, yeah, okay, like I can see what it's doing. And I think where I see more potential for me, it's where there is that you're using a closed data set. You're using all of the things that I have told you and then developing that, rather than just being like, here's absolutely everything that everyone's ever made. Let's go.
That sounds a bit silly, but you know, sometimes when you look back at films, how they've predicted the future.
Yes.
Terminator keeps springing to mind to me all the time. And there wasn't a video released, I think it was about a week ago, of an AI robot completely losing it in a factory. It just went off.
It's the phone ringing at the end of Lawnmower Man that gets me every time. He says, you'll know I've done it because all the phones will ring and the phone rings and I'm like, ah!
It's just, I don't know. I think it's such an uncharted territory. Like you said, Ben, a lot of businesses are potentially adapting this, not knowing the security risk. I didn't even think about what you just said. You know, if you've got access to shared drives and things like that, that they've unwillingly ticked, you know, for the receptionist to have access to a HR folder, which wouldn't normally happen in a business, but it could. You know, can you draft an email to get me access, or could you get me? I don't know what the sort of boundaries are of.
And if you look at, you know, recent cybersecurity attacks for M&S and the Co-op, you know, I was reading about that. How did they do it? They phoned the IT desk and said, I need to reset my password. And they reset a password for them. They were into one email account and that was game on. So there are large companies who are having real trouble with this, and then we're trying to distill it into what is useful for small business, but also, what are those risks? You started talking about, and we've all started talking about security, but what other kind of cyber security risks are you seeing?
We have seen probably over the last 12 months a massive increase in email threats across our customer base, and where maybe you had a hacking group that maybe sat somewhere else in the world, and there'd be 10 of them in a room, similar size to this, making 100 hacks an hour or attempts an hour. It's all AI generated now. So they're doing tens of thousands an hour. So the amount of junk, spammy, malicious emails we're seeing coming through has just gone. So we've had to put additional tools in place to sanitize email, quarantine email and stuff like that. And the stats, I should have pulled them up before the episode, but I think we scanned from December to February, so like a quarter, 3 months, we scanned something like 250,000 emails. 50,000 of them, this is across our customer base, 50,000 of them were malicious emails, and then you get a breakdown as in their phishing attempts, they're this, they're that, they're this. And because, you used to get a spam email and, or a malicious email, and you'd be able to look at the email address, it's very, very clever now, and it will look like it's from Microsoft or it will look like it's from Amazon, and the end user that is looking at it thinks that they're resetting their Microsoft password or their Amazon account. And we've seen a couple of things where somebody had an email, looked like it was from Amazon, saying you need to update your payment details.
Oh no.
And they'd, and it had gone in and it took them to a website that looked exactly like Amazon. They put in their credit card details and then 15 grand got spent on their credit card. And I've heard some other stories as well, this sort of AI deep fake voice stuff that's going on. You've really got to train your staff now. And there was a scenario given about the CEO of Ferrari that they'd had some cybersecurity awareness training across the company, and they talked about deep voice faking, if that's the right terminology for it, and how to mitigate it if you're unsure. And the CEO of Ferrari got a phone call, which sounded like it was from his CFO, saying we need to make this transaction. It was for like a couple of £1 million. And there was a few pauses that he'd picked up on because he'd had this training the week before. So he knew from that training to say, that book you lent me last week said that I should read. What was the title of it again? And then, they hung up straight away. Yeah. And there's a lot of that going on. And I'm even seeing a lot of stuff on social media at the moment. I saw an AI video of Stephen Bartlett, the Dragon's Den guy, CEO, Diary of a CEO. It looks like him. It's him, his voice, and it's saying, click here to sign up for my investment group. I'll tell you my top 3 stocks for the week to invest in.
They also do Martin Lewis. He was a victim of the same thing. They've done one around his voice and image as well.
Join this WhatsApp group. We'll send you your latest stocks. This stock's going to have a 20% return because of this, and it's just getting scary because people can't tell if it's real or not anymore. And I think that's the biggest challenge that people have got is. If something looks real, and I'm sure you've seen some of the videos and things on social media, and I saw one the other day of a guy and he looked like he was surfing on the back of a great white shark, and it looks so real, and it's just, it blows my mind. And we're going to get to a point where what's real and what's not, I think.
Well, it's kind of interesting you should say that, because you've kind of skipped into one of the next things that I was going to talk about, which is sort of like, I suppose, creative, so like marketing creative, so images and videos. Because I find when I see things, so on my LinkedIn, for example, because I have the podcasting, that kind of creative stuff, I see posts from people who are like, right, well, this is it, videography is dead. Look at this that somebody has created, and it's an AI-generated person walking through a door doing a little sort of, here's my outfit or whatever. But I'm looking at that video thinking, there's something wrong with that video. It doesn't look right. And it's not because, we've all seen the stupid ones where there's 6 fingers on your hand or whatever. It's all correct. Everything's how it should be. But there's just something that doesn't connect with it. And I feel like the same with AI sort of images. When I talk to my kids, they can see them coming a mile away. Like they're literally, all right, well, that's AI. in a way that I think our generation, we're like, oh wow, he's surfing on the back of a great white shark. You know, obviously you would question that, but I just sort of feel like it isn't quite the same. There is the worry around deep fakes, absolutely, and things like the examples that you gave. But when it comes to the more sort of creative side, and they're saying, well, you know, videography is dead, photography is dead, and I just think I don't think we are all going to want to look at randomly generated AI photography.
No,
I just don't feel that's where it's going.
Hasn't the film industry built a massive following off the back of CGI? And if you think what CGI looked like 15 years ago to what it is today, it's so realistic. And we're looking at things today that have only been created in the last 6 to 12 months that are already looking so realistic. The world is going to be bombarded with fake news, fake, because it'll be so easy to generate imagery and videos that will look so good. And you think, if we let this go on for another 12 months, what are those videos going to look like?
It's funny, I watched I didn't watch it. I was flicking through the movie channels, and one of the original Superman movies was on with Christopher Reeve.
See the wires hanging down,
sort of flying like this, and it just looks so fake. And like you said, it's come on so far.
Yeah, 100%.
And you know, I just I'm quite concerned for my kids, actually. You know, knowing about where AI could go, or what it could evolve into. You know, getting phone calls from friends. You know, my dad's had WhatsApp messages that looks like it's from me saying, hi Dad, I'm in a bit of trouble, can you transfer me some money, and this sort of stuff. But that will turn into voice soon, and or it already has. So yeah, it does concern me.
Yeah, and I agree, and I think it is all around. I think it is concerning. I'm definitely not dismissing that, but I think there's also a way in which, you know, we've always found ways to get around things like, so for example, when you're saying with your kids and, you know, that kind of deep fake voice or whatever it is, like even from when my kids were little, we used to have a thing where we had a code word. So if somebody turns up and is like, oh, your parents sent me to pick you up, my kids would say, you know, if somebody had done that to them, they would be like, oh, so, you know, what is the book, whatever our equivalent of what is the book that you recommended me last week, we would use that. And the kids would be like, well, it's not you, so thanks, but no thanks. Yeah. Because I think the other thing to consider with younger people as well is that they are using all of these things that we use them much more openly than they do. Yeah. So recently, I don't know if this is something you guys have come across, but there's been the resurgence of the ice bucket challenge. Have you come across that?
Yeah, come back around again.
Yeah, so my eldest was doing it, but the really interesting thing was, they were just doing it as a thing that he went out into the garden, he recorded himself doing it, and he nominated all the things that we did the first time round when it was on social media. But that was for him and his friends on Snapchat, and it didn't go anywhere else. They have no interest in that, sharing things as widely. And actually, I think that is the first kind of inkling that they're, you know, things around where you share your information. I think they are kind of naturally already doing that as a way to navigate all of this social media stuff that we just laid out for them and then let them get on with it. Yeah. So there are concerns, definitely, but I think there will be other ways in which they'll use it differently.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think when you were talking about the creative side and content creation, we work with a third-party company that do our SEO on Google, and you know, we have a monthly account review meeting, and we've not quite been seeing the same visits to our website that we were seeing maybe 12, 18, 24 months ago. And part of the reason for that is people's, the way they're searching for information is now changing. So where you just used to go to Google, people are now using ChatGPT, and I think one of the stats that I was given in a recent account review was that Google search has now dropped below 90% for the first time, because people, rather than maybe going to Google, say putting something in and then maybe looking through several websites to find the information they want, they can go to something like ChatGPT or Copilot or these other tools that are available, and it will give you the information you want, because it will pull those sources and put it into an easily digestible format for you. But even Google are changing their search stuff now, aren't they?
When the top answers are AI.
It's AI, yeah. So people aren't even looking for websites anymore. They're literally just getting that AI summary at the top, and that's probably giving them what they need, and they're trusting that information and going with it rather than maybe looking at websites.
The Google ones now, all of those are attributed, so you can then click and see, right, so that came from that website, that sort of thing. But the same thing around TikTok is one of the biggest search engines that there is. If you want to know how to do something, that's what people do. They're like, how do I do this DIY thing? There'll be tons of different TikTok videos. They'll have a look at it. So I think there's that natural evolution of search as well, which is coming anyway.
Yeah. I mean, do you think that, so moving away from sort of social media and stuff like that, I mean, and back more into sort of business, do you think that there are any like jobs that might be at risk in the future, or any industries that are going to suffer as a result of AI, from what you know or understand?
Well, I think it's going to be...
Accounts.
Well, I think it's going to be everything. I think it's every single thing. I don't think there's a single job that isn't going to be impacted by AI.
No.
And it's not going to be about you are out of a job. It's going to be about how do you build a career. If you're a young person now, how do you build a career? If you are further on in your career, how do you incorporate AI in a useful way to continue your career? Like, there's nobody that isn't going to be impacted by it. And it's just how we do that, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I would think things like the legal sector. I was actually sent a GDPR document the other day, and I put that into Copilot to just sort of analyse it for me. It's from a customer, and they wanted us to sign it to comply with their policies. And they said, could you also review it? And if there's any amendments needed, can you have a look? And I'm not a lawyer, I know some of this stuff, but not all the detail. And I just put it in, and straight away it was Appendix 1 is missing, that's referenced several times in the document. This 8.2.1 section is incorrect and needs, rephrasing. I've heard stuff about, the medical industry where maybe blood work's being taken, that can be analysed by AI, it can produce results and send them to you without the need of even going to a doctor for analysis. So I think there's industries that are really going to suffer, potentially, but I also think that there's other areas that might not so much.
Yeah, but I think in lots of those examples, there's not necessarily the complete elimination of a job. There is the differentiation of a different job. So for example, in the blood work example, you can have a system of AI that knows, right, you're fine, and then you're setting your bar wherever it is. Now we need a query. Well, that query needs to go to human. And so like in your legal example, there is no Appendix 1, but Appendix 1 needs to be written by a professional. Like Appendix 1 needs to be in legal terms and be watertight. So there's still a role for that person with that knowledge to be like, brilliant, now we need to do this. But they're working alongside an AI that's just doing all the work.
Groundwork.
Maybe people's...
Or labour intensive.
Yeah. But also, and as we've discussed before, you've spoken on the podcast about your son who's doing an accountancy apprenticeship. What does that pathway look like for somebody who is training in accounts? Because we still need people that are the experts, so that when AI says, oh, hey, wait a minute, this tax thing doesn't quite look right, is it actually the right thing? We still need someone with enough experience to pick that apart and say...
And understand that it's right.
And understand, is it right, is it wrong, is it compliant, is it... And how do you get somebody at the start of their career to being that senior person if I would say, because I think... And as we've discussed, it has become apparent, most people in our generation are a bit like, AI's doing that, you're off. Whereas actually it's a bit more nuanced than that. Whereas if we go straight to I don't need that role anymore, in 10 years' time, where's the person with 10 years' experience?
100%.
A bit scary. I've seen something about AI employees recently as well. Where you can actually buy these like little AI bots. So you can buy like an HR manager, a marketing/content creator.
Oh my goodness!
New business partner.
But you could basically pay £100 a month for each one of these things. And the idea that they gave through their marketing was like, you go off on holiday for 3 months, let these little botty AI things with different roles do everything for you, and then you come back and it's all done. And but I think there will be a thing where we get more time back. And I think maybe, where people have talked about over the last couple of years going from a a 5-day working week to a 4-day working week. And I know they've trialled that in some countries. I can't remember if it's Finland or Norway or somewhere. But then they were saying, well, maybe people have to work 10 or 12-hour days over 4 days to have that day off. I think actually people might only need to do 2 or 3 hours work a day, and maybe 3 or 4 days a week. Maybe it will go that way. I'm not sure.
Yeah. But there's also, I mean, on the flip side of that, I've also heard stories about people who, they call it overemployment. So people who take on 2 full-time jobs, and they're just getting AI to do all the things that take the time in those 2 jobs. And again, with remote working, or you don't have to be in the office every day of the week, they've employed at 2 different places, but they're still completing those jobs within a certain amount of normal time per week. So, you know, I'm not saying that we're all going to have 2 jobs, but I think, you know, AI is enabling us to do other things.
Do people get paid less then?
Well, yeah, that's a whole other conversation. So we've pretty much bottomed out AI is a bad thing.
Oh, you've decided now, have you?
I think it's great in terms of the way that I've been using it, and I don't know if I would want to use it for more than what I am. So, you know, writing procedural documents or checking emails or creating, you know, proposals or slide decks or whatever it might be. I'm not sure what more I could use it for at the moment, or I'd want to. But maybe things will evolve and we'll find out. I mean, I'm no expert on AI by any means, but I'm aware of people starting to use it and people now inquiring about using it and how they could use it in their business. There's actually another product that Microsoft have got called the Power Platform, and it's all, you don't need to be a web developer anymore, you know, writing lines and lines of code. You can just ask it, say, I want a website that looks like this, using this logo with this colour. Here's a little bit of text. Off you go, and it will create you a website in minutes. But it can also create you applications. So you could be a bike repair shop, for example, and you could have a chatbot on the website. You could ask the chatbot, you know, is my bike ready to pick up? Yes, it will be ready at 1 p.m. today. Parts ordering could be automated via AI, you know, if it needs a new chain or a new pedal or whatever it might be. The booking system can all be done through the website, and it follows this sort of AI journey. And you don't need to know anything about how to put that all together. You can just ask something to do it for you. So they're called like low or no code solutions. And that is something that, you know, being a Microsoft partner through Bluebell IT, we're seeing a lot of people starting to look at that now, where they used to pay tens of thousands of pounds to have a bespoke application developed. They could do it themselves and constantly tweak it, and then you don't need to keep paying someone to adjust it and update it for you as well. So yeah, that's definitely something I'm seeing.
Yeah, well, I think so. I work with a client who's in tech, and he's very much, you know, with the AI, he's saying things about code. He's like, you know, there are lots of ways in which you can use it, but you're not going to replace developers because you might be able to do things quicker, but those applications, again, they might be useful for a small business, but they aren't going to scale. And once you get yourself into trouble, then you can't get yourself out of trouble. But there are definitely going to be ways in which it will be used for smaller jobs like that. I think for me, one of the things, I'm glad that I've tried all these things, and the things that I like and I think I will come back to around AI are, again, the ones which are much more like using Gemini within the Google workspace that I have. That's, for me, tailored to all the things that I have fed it. That has real value for me. Anything that is repeatedly refining what AI can do over and over. So, for example, I would suggest to clients to use an AI agent to come up with some content ideas, but I wouldn't use the first set of ideas. You know, I wouldn't put in how would I market a podcasting business and then use those ideas. I would then say, okay, so what do people ask the most? What are their pain points? What's this? What's that? And actually, one thing I talk to clients about is the best thing that you can really do is take all that information and actually create content around the thing that you really disagree with. Be like, you know, look, actually, AI is telling me that the main thing you care about is this, but actually, is it? I don't think it is. Like, so there's ways in which it can help you kind of do that research or that piece that, like you're saying about the admin, that would have taken you a lot of time before. Whereas now that is much more quickly getting you to the bit where you're like, right, I've had my idea. Now I want to create content.
Yeah.
And then for me, I think a lot of it, when it comes down to content creation across the podcasting, across the video that I do, across my own projects, it just makes me feel like I want to double down on community, human connection, human stories, that kind of thing, because I think that will be another differentiator. I don't think there's going to be, just because I don't want to look at it, there's not going to be less AI content out there. There's not going to be less people surfing on the back of a shark.
Yeah.
Just because I don't want to look at it, there's going to be more of it,
Yeah.
and more and more. But actually, the next Diary of a CEO that isn't deep faked will be something around a human story, human interaction, community, because that's what we'll move towards as a result of being bombarded by all these things that essentially, when it comes down to it, look a bit the same.
So what AI tools have you, so you've used none? You've probably touched on them without realising.
Yeah, there's some AI tools that you're using on a day-to-day basis that, you know, are just embedded in your day-to-day life. But yeah, I'm not using them for business. And I don't think in the, you know, eventually I think I'll get there, but not as it stands at the moment. I think it's too embryonic. There's too many, like you said, security risks at the moment. I don't understand it enough. And at the moment, running a small business, I haven't got enough time to understand it enough, if that makes sense.
Time invested could save you time though.
Potentially, but even you're still trialing it now with security and things, and what impact that's going to have on people's environments. You know, what access does it have? I don't know. What you know, when you download Chat GPT, what happens to it on your laptop? You know, what access does it gain? Because we've all installed apps on our phones, we've all installed apps on our laptops, and all we say is allow. Well, what have I allowed to? You know, what access has it got?
Yeah.
And that's my issue.
You're using Gemini.
Yeah, so I'm using Gemini, and a lot of the software that I use around podcasting, so specifically around editing, they have some kind of AI built in.
Right.
So I'm using a software called Descript, and they have AI, and it's actually very... so I don't use it around video, but what it can do, again, very well is sort of almost like touch-ups, but maybe not the ones that you think. So it does one with eye contact, so it will make sure that you're looking at the camera, even if there was a moment where you looked away at your notes, for example. And it can stitch in, so Descript does everything around the transcript, but what it can do is, if you trip over a word, it can use the rest of your voice, because it's been listening to it, to just stitch over that, so you actually haven't tripped over that word. So there's little touches in it, which if I haven't used them for my own projects, but I think those are clever ways to use AI.
Yeah.
And also, I will fully admit, it does things like write your show notes or your YouTube description. And I did use that. You know, we lost our YouTube channel, and I had to rebuild it yesterday from scratch. And I used that as a first version. So it's giving me all the timestamps and the chapters, but I used that as a first version, which I copy and pasted and then rewrote. And what you see for things like that is it uses all the same words. We delve into, so you know which bits of it are AI. So obviously I rewrote things like that. It was a insightful discussion. That's another one that it overuses, but it gives me some key points of what a good draft, key points of what we talked about in this episode that I can then write around in a way that is our voice for the podcast. So there's little AI touches in pretty much every software I use now. It's always fun to have a go.
And I use HubSpot as a sort of sales and marketing CRM, and they've developed something called Breeze. That's their name for their sort of AI that they've built into the tool. And if you're searching for a prospect, you know, you could search, and then you obviously have to go through notes and, you know, when did you call them, what was the last conversation, what was the email. Now it will just give you a sort of AI summary about, you know, John was interested in this back in 2019, you sent him 2 emails. So it, you know, there's some nice features like that. But again, you know, sometimes it can get it wrong as well. So I think it's like in beta mode at the moment. But I'm seeing some advantages with using that. I mean, if you're not using AI, do you think you'd be at a competitive disadvantage in your business over the next 12 months if other sort of businesses that you're bidding against are using it and adopted it more than you, maybe?
It depends what aspect. You're talking about winning business.
I'm just talking about using it within your business, so maybe making you more operationally efficient, or having a.
So let's break it down into a few elements. So winning business. I don't think AI is going to outdo people to people, face to face. I don't think that's ever going to destroy that part of selling and doing a deal with somebody. I think that needs to be done face to face to maximise your opportunity. Operationally, could you be potentially spending more than you need to from an operational point of view by not using AI? Yes. What are the repercussions of that? I don't know. You could argue that your cost base would be lower. However, are your customers then guaranteed to get the same experience that they would do if they were being managed by, let's say, an individual and not an AI? I don't know, Ben. On the whole, at the moment, I think it's a flip of a coin. You may or may not be at a disadvantage. Who knows?
Yeah.
Is the honest answer.
Yeah.
For me.
You think the same?
Yeah, I think for me, at the size that my business is very small at the moment, at the size that my business is, I don't think there's going to be a disadvantage to me not using AI. I think continuing to be curious, continuing to just play around with those features as they come out, to know what's out there, and to know what I'm looking for. I mean, I will constantly come up against people who are creating a podcast and have used, some form to know it when I see it is actually quite useful, and to be able to discuss that with other people as to whether or not, because again, I suppose some of it is, what level within podcast production or production generally, you've got everything from recording yourself, on your phone or on a Zoom call, right up to you could have an entire tricked out TV studio, and there's everything in between. Yeah. Being able to have that conversation with clients and saying, hey, that's a good option. It's going to put you about here. If you wanted to be about here, this is what we do instead, or something like that. And in terms of efficiencies, I think maybe, again, it's something I will keep my eye on, if there can be continued efficiencies over time, definitely.
Yeah, I think from my side, I mean, we had a conversation a few months ago. Well, we've got to do it, but I think where I'm sort of stepping into it at the moment with the tools that I'm using, I think 3 or 4 months ago we had a conversation about maybe hiring an admin assistant that could deal with getting contracts out to clients, could deal with getting invoices done and things like that. And although not all of those tasks are sort of covered by AI at the moment, my admin mountain seems to be shrinking at the moment, which is giving me more time to focus on other areas of the business. So, and I think all of our competitors are going to be embracing AI because we're in IT, right? So we've got to, I think, but again, it's just there's a few unknowns at the moment, and it's a big subject, isn't it, as we've discovered talking today. So I think we've got to embrace it and start using it, and learn more about it, and then how to train the team to use it and the benefits as well. So I think I'm quite looking forward to it, but I am a bit apprehensive as well about where it could go, or some sort of data leak or whatever it might be. I'm just, there's a few unknowns, isn't there? There's a lot of unknowns at the moment. Yeah,
absolutely. Awesome. Well, I think we might wrap it up there then.
Good.
Thank you for joining us again on this episode of Living the Small Business Life. We hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you hear about the next episode first.